The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave its birth comes again. In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose in the mountains of mist. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time, but it was a beginning.
And with that, we begin yet another episode of the True Source Podcast. In this episode, we meet a slew of new characters. Some we love to hate, and discuss who was the black-clad rider following Rand through the forest. Has anyone else seen him? We also have more pronouncements, debate Tam's knowledge of the truth about Rand's origins, and read the comments from our previous videos. You're listening to The True Source.
And we're back. Today's episode is on Chapter 1 of The Eye of the World, An Empty Road.
An empty road.
An empty road. Our story begins with Tam al'Thor and his teenage son Rand traveling an empty forest road. They are accompanied by their horse Bella and a cartload of apple cider and brandy. The two men are on their way to town to celebrate the Spring Beltane Festival. There is a sense of unease as the pair travels the road. The weather is uncharacteristically cold, and there have been several unsettling animal attacks, causing father and son to be on high alert. On their way, Rand sees a darkly cloaked man on a black horse in the road behind them. His face is hidden in his hood, and though the wind whips around Rand and his father, it does not appear to touch the rider. Rand feels a wave of hatred from the man, and, startled, he calls to his father. But by the time Tam turns, the rider has vanished. Rand, embarrassed, persuades his father to continue on to the village. To lighten the mood, Tam teases Rand good-naturedly about a young maiden, Egwene al'Vere, who has caught Rand's eye. He also reminds Rand to remember the flame and the void. The flame is a meditation ritual that settles the mind by removing all extraneous emotions: anger, fear, sadness. The void is the calmness found once the flame has consumed all errant thoughts. Rand attempts the practice, but images of the mysterious rider plague his mind the rest of the way to town. Emond's Field is a quaint, quiet mountain village dotted with thatch-roofed homes and stout businesses that have stood for generations. The weather is cold and the crops have yet to sprout, but even still, spirits are high as preparations for Beltane are made. Two Rivers folk are cut from a hardier cloth than most. Along the way to the Wine Spring Inn they encounter friends, acquaintances, and notorious troublemakers and complainers like the Conger family. But eventually, father and son arrive at their destination and are greeted by Brandolwyn al'Vere, the village mayor and innkeeper. Another of the town elders, Sen Bui, is also present, though his greetings are less than jovial. The men discuss the unnatural turn of the weather and the foreboding nature of the land. Talk shifts to the town wisdom, a young woman named Nynaeve Almira, and what secrets she may be concealing about the ominous signs seen around town. While the men's conversation turns ever more grim, Rand is approached by one of his best friends, Matrim Cauthon, a good-spirited prankster who is always looking for a fun time. While trying to encourage Rand away from his chores, he reveals that he also saw a mysterious shadowy figure on the edge of town. Matt tries to joke that it might be a Forsaken or the dragon himself, but fear is evident in his voice and the memories put both boys on edge. The pair tries to convince themselves that the rider is a harmless chicken thief, but neither quite believe it. Matt insists that they ought to tell the town elders about their sightings, but Rand sways him off, stating that no one who hadn't seen the man would believe it. The two are eventually pulled away from their dark musings by talk of Beltane preparations, along with possible appearances by a gleeman and an illuminator. The chapter ends with the two boys falling in line behind Tam as they help to move the brandy and cider into the inn.
And now, back due to popular demand, saidin and saidar pronounce.
Rand al'Thor.
Our main protagonist, whose history is a mystery, even to himself. Described as being tallest in the district, with wide shoulders, gray eyes, and a reddish tinge to his hair, an odd color combination for a supposed native of the Two Rivers.
Tam al'Thor.
Father, teacher, and role model of Rand al'Thor. Rand considers him to be so solid that a flood could wash around him without uprooting his feet.
Bella, the horse.
Everyone's favorite mount, and a certain male half of a certain source's favorite character.
Mat Cauthon.
Friend of Rand and prankster extraordinaire, with an everlasting mischievous glint in his brown eyes.
Wit and Daisy Conger.
an antagonistic married couple disreputably known throughout the Two Rivers. While both are known for their cynicism, Daisy is easily recognized for her girth and has been described as being twice as wide as her husband without an ounce of fat on her.
Sen Bowie.
Town Thatcher, an all-around crotchety old man.
Emmons Field.
The heartland of the Two Rivers, and home to our main characters.
Brandolwyn Alvear.
Bran to his friends. Mayor of Emmons Field, keeper of the Wine Spring Inn, and possible future father-in-law to Rand.
Gleeman, not Gleeman.
A traveling entertainer, popular throughout the land. And now, a word from our sponsors. Please, take what you want, just don't hurt me.
Don't let this happen to you. Your family is important to you, and at GoldenEye Security, they're important to us, too. Whether you're on the outskirts or the inskirts, don't let yourself become a statistic. Protect your valuables. Protect your family. Protect your life. With GoldenEye Security, when the wolves come a-howlin', when the prowlers come a-prowlin', put a golden ring of security around your home, protecting your cottage so you don't have to. GoldenEye Security.
GoldenEye Security?
GoldenEye Security.
And now, dear listener, join us as we go on location in the Two Rivers to witness the preparations for this year's Beltane festivities. Aaron, are you there? Can you hear us?
Thanks for that handoff, Side In and Sidar. We're in the field today.
Emmons Field, to be specific.
That's right, Aaron. We're here observing the setup and preparations for springtime's most important festival, Beltane.
It's a bit chillier this year, don't you think?
Chillier than Sen Bowie's feelings toward the town wisdom, Aaron.
That's pretty chilly, Aaron.
It sure is.
I see the musicians are setting up to rehearse, and the pole has already been erected on the town green. How many eligible maidens do you think will be dancing this year, Aaron?
Hard to say, Aaron, but the word around the village council is there's a chance for an even greater entertainment this year. Scuttlebutt around the old Wine Spring Inn says there may be an appearance by a traveling gleeman, and possibly even an illuminator.
An illuminator, Aaron? Have the Congers been spreading rumors again?
We'll find out for sure tomorrow, Aaron, but in the meantime, keep that one under your hat.
Ah, I see Tam Althor has just arrived into town, no doubt bringing a couple barrels of his best apple cider and brandy.
I hear his brandy's the talk of the town. It would be remiss of us as journalists to promote such a beverage without knowing for sure its quality, don't you think, Aaron?
Oh, indeed. We shouldn't remiss this opportunity for a sample.
Or three.
And who is that with Tam? Is that his son, Rand Althor? My, he's grown since last Beltane.
Eyes to the camera, Aaron. Eyes to the camera.
And it seems that young rascal Matrim Coffin is heading over to greet his friend. I heard he flowered the neighbor's dog the other day and called it a ghost.
Rascally little devil.
Oh, that Matrim. What say we get a little closer and see what hijinks they have planned for this year? Come on, Rand, while they're arguing, before they put you to work. Dav and I caught a big old badger, all grouchy at being pulled out of his den. We're gonna let it loose on the green and watch the girls run.
I promised to unload the cider. I can meet you later, though.
Toting barrels. Burn me, I'd rather play stones with my baby sister. Well, I know better things than a badger. We have strangers in the Two Rivers. Last evening...
A man on horseback? A man in a black cloak, on a black horse? And his cloak doesn't move in the wind?
You saw him too? I thought I was the only one. Don't laugh, Rand, but he scared me.
I'm not laughing. He scared me too. I could swear he hated me, that he wanted to kill me.
I don't know about hating Rand, but he was scary enough anyway. All he did was sit on his horse looking at me, just outside the village. But I've never been so frightened in my life. Well, I looked away for just a minute. It wasn't easy, mind you. Then, when I looked back, he'd vanished. Blood and ashes. 3 days it's been, and I can hardly stop thinking about him. I keep looking over my shoulder. Funny how being scared takes you. You think strange things. I actually thought, just for a minute, mind, might be the Dark One.
The Dark One and all the Forsaken are bound in Shia Ghul, beyond the Great Blight, bound by the Creator at the moment of creation, bound until the end of time. The hand of the Creator shelters the world, and the light shines on us all. Besides, if he was free, what would the Shepherd of the Night be doing in the Two Rivers watching farm boys?
I don't know, but I do know that writer was evil. Don't laugh. I'll take oath on it. Maybe it was the dragon.
Oh, well, you're just full of cheerful thoughts, aren't you? You sound worse than Sen.
My mother always said the Forsaken would come for me if I didn't mend my ways. If I ever saw anybody who looked like Ishmael or Agenor, it was him.
Everybody's mother scared them with the Forsaken, but most grow out of it. Why not the Shadow Man while you're at it?
I haven't been so scared since... No, I've never been that scared, and I don't mind admitting it.
Me either. My father thinks I was jumping at shadows under the trees.
So does my dad. I told Dav and Elam Dowtree. They've been watching like hawks ever since, but they haven't seen anything. Now Elam thinks I was trying to trick him. Dav thinks he's down from Tarrant Ferry. A sheep stealer or a chicken thief. A chicken thief!
It's all probably foolishness anyway. Maybe he is just a sheep stealer.
Well, I don't like the way he looked at me, and neither did you, not if how you jumped at me is any guide. We ought to tell somebody.
We already have, Matt. Both of us. And we weren't believed. Can you imagine trying to convince Master Alvir about this fellow, without seeing him? He'd send us off to Nanaeve to see if we were sick.
There's two of us now. Nobody could believe we both imagined it.
Your father would believe you put me up to it. And mine. Oh, it definitely seems like those two have something up their sleeves, don't you think, Aaron?
I certainly do. We're all going to have to keep a close eye on our chickens tomorrow.
We'll have a lot of chicken watching to do if I know anything about teenage boys where pretty girls are involved.
We sure will. Well, that's it for us, reporting from Emmons Field on the eve of this year's Beltane. No doubt everything will go off as planned and without a hitch. Back to you, Saidan and Saidar.
Informative as always, Aaron and Aaron. Coming up is another one of Saidan and Saidar's epic debates. But first, a word from our sponsors.
A real man.
Chops wood with his bare hands.
A real man.
Shaves his face with an axe.
A real man.
Shears his sheep in the rain.
A real man.
Mills his barley with his teeth.
A real man.
Grows his own tabac, whittles his own pipes, and smokes in his sleep.
A real man.
Knows a real man when he sees him savoring a cup of Tam's apple brandy.
Big.
Hairy.
Strong.
Muscular.
Smelly.
Dirty. Hard. Tam's apple brandy. It's what men drink.
And now it's time for our weekly debate. This week, we're discussing whether or not Tam suspected Rand could be the Dragon Reborn.
I believe that Tam had no idea that Rand was the Dragon Reborn, didn't even know about the prophecies.
And I think that's absolutely ridiculous, total hogwash, and I challenge you to prove me wrong.
Well, firstly, Tam was, by all accounts, a warrior. He was a mercenary or something.
Yeah?
And,
You saying mercenaries aren't clever enough to know about prophecies?
well, I'm not saying he's a mercenary. He was in some sort of army or something.
Yeah.
But I think that he was a sword master, firstly, which kind of lends you to believe that he spent an awful lot of time swinging a sword around and not a lot of time with his nose in a book,
You see,
learning about ancient, thousands of years old
I
prophecies.
think, as a member of an army, what that means is he's had a lot of time to travel and interact with different people, different cultures, so the notion that he would have lived his whole life and not heard of the prophecy from anyone he encountered is very, very strange to me.
I don't know, day to day.
Very small chance.
Day to day, you hear a lot about things, but I don't know how much you take seriously unless you put your own effort into it.
Perhaps he took the prophecy with a grain of salt, but when you factor in all the other evidence that he is faced with, I don't see how he could think anything but Rand, my own son, is the Dragon Reborn.
Well, he had to have come in contact with all of these evidences and all of these prophecies.
All
first.
the evidence is right there in Rand. Where did he find that boy?
Well, he found him after a battle
On Dragon Mount.
on a mountain where he just happened to be. I don't think he was like, oh, there's.
It was Dragon Mount, which is part of the prophecy.
It is, but who says he ever even heard that part of the prophecy? It was been thousands of years since that prophecy was written. Maybe it's only known in secret circles in the libraries of Tarvalon.
But perhaps part of the prophecy that he might have come in contact with was, what's the dragon going to look like? And Rand fits the bill to a T. He is clearly Aiel. Tall, red hair, gray eyes.
Well, yeah.
I think another important point to make is that Tam took great pains to coach Rand in the ways of the void. He taught him about finding the void, finding the flame. He taught him calmness, steadiness, stillness, and these are all things that if he had not known these, Rand would never have been able to figure out Saidin and how to channel it, how to use it appropriately, because it's not like there's anyone around to really teach him that.
Sure, that's nice and all, but, I mean, since Tam didn't know how to wield Saidin, how would he have known that it took knowing the void and the flame and the void to reach it and to touch it and to grasp it and to wield it? Where I think that maybe it was just fate that either taught Tam the knowledge, it was the weaving of the wheel, that either taught Tam the knowledge and made it so important to him as to feel this need to teach his son about it, or that wove this perfect person who had this perfect knowledge and this perfect passion for this perfect thing to teach this boy that he found that he cared so much about as he grew up.
So what you're saying is maybe he didn't know he knew that Rand was the dragon, but someone else out there did, and they just imbued him with the knowledge that Rand would later need to become the dragon?
The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
So it seems like maybe we're just arguing two sides of the same point.
I feel like we're arguing the same thing.
Okay.
That's
well,
funny.
I enjoy that we have resolved yet another of our classic debates here on the True Source podcast.
This week, we'd like to introduce a new segment to the show. Saidin and Saidar read the YouTube comments.
From our video, The Creation of Dragonmount, from a commenter named M. Lee. The Wheel of Time is somewhat new to me. I've read about it, but I haven't read any of the books yet. I listened to the dialogue of The Creation of Dragonmount on YouTube. Very interesting, dramatic, intense. Looking forward to the next installment. I hope to find out if he is totally out of it, and if she can pull him back from the edge.
Wow. Someone brand Alvear new to the series. I am so excited that you're enjoying the podcast and hope you get to enjoy the source material for them soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And from Juanita Namas. You two are incredible. You should be on stage. Love the sound effects. Smiley face.
Aw, thank you so much. We're so glad you enjoyed our first segment, and we hope you come back for more. From our video, On the Eve of Beltane, from commenter M. Lee. A mystery man on a dark horse? Sounds like the game is afoot.
The game is definitely afoot. There are many games afoot, in fact, and we look forward to unveiling our take on them for you, the listener. From our pilot episode of the True Source podcast, again from M. Lee. Good podcast! ! Good discussion at the end. Just one question. Where can I get some of that volcano insurance?
Ah, good question. We have a vendor in the Two Rivers right at the corner of Dragon's Way and Maine. All forms of payment are accepted, and just remember, no deductible is ever too high. From Matro206. Hilariously clever podcast, definitely worth a listen. The commercials are my favorite part. Subscribed and waiting for more content.
Thank you so much. The commercials are one of our favorite parts too. A lot of effort goes into making them, and I'm glad the effort isn't in vain.
Thank you to everyone who commented. It's always great to hear from each and every one of you individual threads out there.
And for those of you who haven't been following along on our other social media accounts,
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram,
Saidar and I have been hiding our calling cards all across the land. Let us know when and where you found one, and we'll send you a special shout-out on our next episode.
Speaking of our next episode, that about does it for this one. This has been Saidar
And Saidin, reminding you that the wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
so there's no use in resisting.
See you next time.
Bye!
Bye.
To contact us directly, you can email us at thetruesourcepodcast@gmail.com. To keep up to date with us, check out our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube channel. This has been the True Source Podcast.